It's frequently said that you should teach something that you really want to learn. Instead of, you going and finding a teacher to teach you, you teach the course of something that you want to learn. The subject comes up because I was just skimming through my YouTube feed, and I saw that one of the commentators that is putting out high vibrational content, the subject was how to heal yourself. And just before this commentator was going to make a podcast on the subject, he fell very ill with bronchitis and strep throat and was unable to talk, so unable to make a podcast. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now, what am I suffering from? You don't need to know. But I'll tell you the truth. I do have many things. I've told you before in some of these videos that I have got a certain problem, and it has got to do with a golf tee. And that video that I made is, I've actually made two videos about using one with a golf tee and one using a something else that's pointy like a golf tee to help with my particular problem. Was that how I cured myself? Well, no, because it's chronic. In other words, I haven't cured it. It keeps coming back. I did do a video on this library book that I got out before the quarantine start. It's called Cured: The Life-Changing Science of Spontaneous Healing. And instead of reading this book and telling you what that one's all about, it's too many words. I mean, it's a big, fat, thick book. I'm not going to read it. So I'm going to teach you how to cure yourself, which means I'm going to need what's known as a demonstration. And seeing as this is the only human body in the room, I'm going to have to work with this one. Some of my friends, well, they're laughing their asses off because I've had this particular problem for quite some time. I told you there's no human bodies in this room except for me. So I'm going to remind you that I have spirit friends that talk to me clairaudiently, and they're the ones that are falling on the floor laughing. Okay? Well, this particular commentator I was talking to you about who had the bronchitis and strep throat, how this commentator is deciding to cure the problem is with antibiotics. But I don't know. I mean, this cured book I was showing you here, it's spontaneous healing. If I focus on that thing that I focus in, I don't know. It says spontaneous healing, right? It's not focusing very well. Life-changing science of spontaneous healing. And anybody that takes antibiotics, well, if you take them for 4 or 5 days, if that's what the pharmacist gave you, 4 or 5 days, either it's going to work in 4 or 5 days or it didn't work. And then you're going to say, well, it's spontaneously cleared up after 5 days of taking antibiotics. That's not spontaneous healing in most people's heads. Most people are going to look at you and say, don't be a dick about this. But no, we're talking about spontaneous healing. So healing yourself, to me, means spontaneous healing. In other words, I'm not taking vitamins. I'm not taking supplements. I'm not going to see a Chinese chiropractor. I'm not taking antibiotics. I'm not taking antivirals. Um, I'm not changing my diet. What about like the old Jewish remedy of like chicken soup for a cold? No. What about going on a fast? Um, no. In other words, I'm going to eat the regular things that I eat, and most days that's peanut butter and I eat peanut butter and bread pretty much every day. Um, I do drink usually one large glass of orange juice a day, and a lot of days I'll have a second glass of juice, usually cranberry juice. I drink uh, tap water with a little spritz of lemon juice. I sometimes have breakfast cereal in the middle of the night. Um, mm, anyway, I'm not going to do a dietary change. What else do people do? Oh, some people go to some places like Lourdes in France or Bath in England, where these places have known for miraculous healings if you go for a bath in Bath. I'm not sure if there's a wading pool in Lourdes. I didn't look it up, so I don't know what the story is with Lourdes. Some people go to, I think it's someplace in Brazil in South America, and they go and see a guy called John of God, who's supposed to do these kind of miraculous healings. I'm not going to Lourdes. I'm not going to Bath. I'm not going to see John of God. Okay, we're narrowing it down. So the next thing people are going to say is, what else do people do? And I told you, no vitamins, no supplements. I'm not going to take some kind of reishi mushroom. Um, mm, my Scottish grandmother might say, well, you could use a poultice. I've never used a poultice and I don't plan on it, but just for your information, a poultice is pretty much oatmeal wrapped in maybe like a tea towel. I'm not exactly sure. I've never seen it done. This is just sort of third hand knowledge. And you put this warm oatmeal over some part of your body. And folk remedy, I don't know if it works. I'm not going to do that. So, what else do people do for, miraculous cures? Oh, sugar pills. In other words, um, you can use a sugar pill as a placebo effect. So, they used this on the old TV show MASH, which was about a bunch of doctors in the Korean War. And at one time, they ran out of, I think it was pain medication. So what they did is they gave the patients sugar pills, and they told them that this was, I don't know if they said, I can't remember, but it was something to do with getting rid of the pain. And lo and behold, the placebo effect worked. But, the problem is that worked for them because they lied about it. They told the patient that that's what it was and it worked. But I can't lie to myself. I can't go and take a sugar pill and tell myself that this is going to cure myself, because I already know it's a sugar pill and I don't expect that's going to work. What other kinds of ways do people use? Oh, maybe hypnotism. Maybe, you could go and see hypnotism and go into a trance, and they're going to give you a hypnotic suggestion. This is an interesting idea. When I was about 19 years old, I was at university and I was really bored at the library. So this happened all the time. I would get bored doing my homework, and then I just wander up and down the stacks of books looking for anything interesting at all. And I saw one book that said, Induction techniques for hypnotism. What? So I pulled it off. It was a great big book. It was even thicker than this book. This was the Miraculous Cure book. It was even thicker. It was 1.5 times, maybe two times the thickness of this book. And I didn't read the whole book. I read the introduction and I went right to induction techniques, and I just picked one. And I was living in university residence at the time, so there was plenty of people that were, you know, available. So I started saying to people, do you want to be hypnotized? People were curious. Can you hypnotize me? Um, um, I don't know. Let's try it. So I did, and I did hypnotize the whole floor, basically. Well, maybe not everybody, but quite a few people on the floor I hypnotized. And then people wanted to know, how did you do that? And we did all kinds of the experiments of what you could do with hypnosis. If you're interested, get a book on hypnosis. It's fascinating. Um, but there was one person that I hypnotized a few times. I really liked the idea of hypnotizing it. So this person went to um, another floor in the residence and started hypnotizing people one after another. And I don't know how I found out, but I found out, and I went to that floor, and there was maybe 15 people that were in one large common room, and this guy had hypnotized them all. And then what I did is I looked. I didn't even do any hypnosis techniques to induce hypnosis. I just looked at this guy that I'd hypnotized a few times, and he just went bloop. In other words, once you've hypnotized somebody, you can hypnotize them if the conditions are right, just with a look. And then I had this guy and all the other people that he had hypnotized. Is it possible to cure people of certain illnesses with hypnosis? Well, it didn't come up. The subject didn't come up because nobody was sick. We were all 19, 20, 21 years old. No one was sick. So it didn't come up. So, but there was my neighbor in the room next to me was having a great hard time sleeping at night. So he asked me, well, if you hypnotize me, could you um, make it so that I could fall asleep? Mm-hmm. Let's try it. And lo and behold, after I hypnotized them, I said, okay, tonight you're going to go to bed and you're going to fall to sleep and you're going to have a wonderful, refreshing sleep. And in the morning, you're going to feel like $1 million. And then he went away. And then the next day, I said, well, how did it work? And he said, yeah, it worked. I slept really good. Now, there is a technique called auto suggestion where you can hypnotize yourself. The strange thing was, um, I was the one that got everybody this residence interested in hypnosis because I just stumbled across this book in the library. But I had a number of people hypnotize me, and I could never go under. I could never be hypnotized. And then as far as hypnotizing myself, no, couldn't do it. Um, it's fear. It was deep fear. I had great fear of losing control. And I think that was the reason why I couldn't be hypnotized. Just great fear. Great fear that somebody was going to get into my head. Didn't want that. Didn't want that. So I couldn't be hypnotized. So anyway, as I said, I can't hypnotize myself either. So as far as hypnotizing myself to give myself a spontaneous cure, it ain't gonna work. Okay, so what other ways could you do a spontaneous cure? Prayer. I guess people sometimes pray for a spontaneous cure. Um, how do you pray? This is a simple item. How do you pray? That one of the books I read on spiritual healing talked about, and this particular author gave a lecture on the subject. How do you pray? And I mean, in church, right? How do you pray? Well, you say a bunch of words out of the, I don't know. Sometimes they give you that paper thing, the calendar. It gives you some of these written things, and everyone says these prayers or whatever. I mean, they always prayed for peace. Always, always, always. Every time at church, pray for peace. And to this day on this planet, we don't got peace. Endless wars. So, terrorism, murders. So we don't have peace. So these prayers for peace, they don't work. Hmm. What other ways can you possibly get a spontaneous cure? Um, oh, I know. Oh, I can't believe I never thought of this before. Reiki, because I got inducted into Reiki many years ago, and it's a Japanese form of energy healing. Does it work? Hmm. Well, for me, when I did Reiki for people, one time somebody had it was a ridiculous thing. It was to raise money, and they went to some track, and you had to do laps around the track, and it was it was a bunch of companies that submitted teams, and my company didn't submit a team, but they were short somebody. So my friend said, "Well, do you want to come for my team?" Sure. And I showed up there, and they had they had a barbecue outside, and they had a portable trailer, and inside the portable trailer, well, they had a lot of booze. So everyone, and it was a 24-hour thing. That was what it was. 24 hours. You had to have maybe there was 4 or 6 people, maybe there was more. I can't remember, many years ago. And you always had to have somebody doing a lap. And then once they did their lap, then they'd come in, and then the next person would go out and do a lap. So for 24 hours there was somebody on the track. And they got into the liquor. And I'm pretty sure somebody got too drunk and they went over on their ankle. And I had just learned this Reiki thing. And I said, "Well, I just learned Reiki. I can give you some Reiki. It might help." And as far as I remember, I think it did. They said that it helped. Another time, another friend of mine um, had another ankle issue, sore ankle, and I gave them Reiki, and they said it was better. Hmm. Some other people I gave Reiki to, and it helped them relax. They um, just deep relaxation really worked for that. Um, Another time, somebody that I knew had just got out of the hospital because they'd had um, a cancerous growth removed. And so I gave them Reiki. And what happened there? Mm, I think it just helped them relax. That's basically what it was. It was very relaxing for them. Mm, maybe a few other odd things like that. But, it wasn't like I ever had the opportunity to help somebody who had a broken bone. Um, I didn't use it on anybody that had any serious diseases, although there are stories that people in Japan used Reiki for treating cancer. Um, but I never saw anything firsthand with it. And, I've got this induction into Reiki, but I've still got this problem that I have to use this golf tee for. So, whatever Reiki I've got, Reikiing myself, for this problem, it's not working. Mm, Generally speaking, it hasn't really thrilled me as an ability to heal things. So, I'm not going to use Reiki to do my spontaneous healing. Mm, what else could people do? We talked about kind of mushrooms, so I'm not going to use herbal remedies because that's not spontaneous. Spontaneous healing would be like the Jesus story. There was Lazarus, no, Lazarus, Lazarus. Lazarus was a friend of Jesus, and he dropped dead. He got sick and he got dead, and Jesus came to see him, and he said, Lazarus, arise, and Lazarus came back from the dead. And I think there was another time when there was a sick man. He was lying on a portable cot, like a camp cot. He was lying there, and Jesus said to him, um, sort of the same thing, get up and walk or something, and apparently he did. Um, so were those spontaneous cures? Most people think that Jesus is kind of a mythological character. So, diseases in my body, please go away. There, I did my Jesus thing. It's still sore. Back of my neck is still sore. So I'm going to say it didn't work. Okay, what other ways can you get a spontaneous healing? My friend, the spirit guide, he just laughed. He said, how about spontaneous human combustion? Have you heard that one? Spontaneous human combustion. Never seen it, but mm, something they used to talk about, is a really weird thing. Somebody just went poof. So, no. Anyway, that's kind of a sidelight speculation. What other ways can you get a spontaneous cure? Well, that John of God guy in Brazil, is that a spontaneous cure? Well, you're going to see a healer. I think he might tell people, I think he does tell them to take they give you some kind of herbal thing. So it's a herbal cure. faith healing. What about faith healing? Like, you got a bunch of people praying for you. I think that could be considered, if it worked, that would be a spontaneous cure, because no one really believes that, people sitting around um, praying for you, praying to Jesus or praying to some Hindu god. No one believes that that's actually going to work. So if people did that, and like if you had like whatever you had, and it went away after they prayed for you, I think we could consider that to be a spontaneous cure. What about if no one did nothing? That's what this book talks about. People that basically did nothing whatsoever. Like they went in, they had a problem, maybe an x-ray of some problem, and the surgeon was not available, so they had to wait. And then they went and they got x-rays again later on, just before the surgeon was ready to go. And lo and behold, they looked at the two x-rays, one from however long before, and then the new x-ray, and the problem had resolved itself. They call that, in that book, spontaneous cure. And how it comes about, um, I kind of sampled it here and there, and they don't talk about it. They sort of give a list of spontaneous cures, but they don't really say how it happens. But I didn't go into any real detail in that book. Maybe I missed a chapter where they say what happens, but they just say it does happen. That's what the whole book is. It testifies these things happen spontaneously, and I don't know if he's going to come up with anything. Um, so, how am I going to cure myself? Well, my spirit guide wants to talk about meditation. Can meditation cure a. Oh, I got another one after this. Can it cure a problem? Well, I meditate all the time. Every day for, let's say, every day for at least let's go for under 2 years, but more than a year and a half, every day, and for great periods of times, and it hasn't gone away. So no, I'm not going to say that meditation cures what ails this body. Oh, the next one I'm going to give you is Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian teaching, um, and I took a course, two different teachers and two different varieties of Ho'oponopono, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I'm going to say, at least for me, it doesn't do a spontaneous cure. There's spiritual mind treatment, which comes from the science of mind people, religious science people, new thought people. Um, does that work? I've heard stories for other people, but for me, no, didn't work. Didn't work. Did I feel ripped off? Um, at one time, I felt very ripped off. One of the things they say is um, there's what they call divine right timing. In other words, it's up to the divinity to give you what they call the demonstration. And well, I guess the divinity, it's been, how many years ago was that? Let's say it was like um, more than 15 years ago that I did some spiritual mind treatment ideas, and hasn't been divine right timing yet. So is it ever going to be divine right timing? Well, I can't say it won't be. It just hasn't happened so far. Um, Someone else, my spirit guide friend, reminds me, says it could be a karmic thing. A karmic thing where uh, you have a karmic issue and something that you are suffering from as a disease, or someone else is suffering from as a disease, uh, is a karmic thing. And I'm really no expert at karma. You all know basically people say what goes around comes around, but it could be even as something from past lives. It could be, well, I don't know. Anyway, you all know about karma. So it could be a karmic thing, and then that stopped the divine right timing from happening. I was just reading something that it was from a Tibetan Buddhist that said could be something that's karmic, and until the karma thing is, I don't know if they call it resolved or you learned your lesson. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a Tibetan Buddhist, so just because I read some books doesn't make me a Tibetan Buddhist expertise. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Something to do with karma. Mm, what other things? Some people just say go out and um, forget about your ailment, and this does work for me temporarily. Sometimes when I'm doing my videos, like earlier, well, yesterday, and it would be yesterday now because it's after midnight. Yesterday, when George Gross came and we did a video with George Gross, that character, um, I didn't feel any pain in my body when I was George Gross. And sometimes I'm totally physically exhausted, and like I feel like I'm never going to get off the couch all day, and then something happens, and I don't feel so sleepy tired, and I get up and I start talking, and I'm not sleepy tired at all. And then after I'm done the video, I might start fiddling around to put it up on YouTube or Instagram or something, and then I might start feeling tired again. But during that video, sometimes so that does work temporarily, taking your mind off of your problem. But it's not really a spontaneous cure. It's like a temporary measure because, after I'm done, I'm, you know, grabbing my golf tee again. If you really want to know about my golf tee, you're going to have to just spin back on um, some of my videos to look for one about this one. So what other ways could you have a spontaneous healing? Well, we kind of said I'm not going to go and see a healer like a Reiki healer. Someone was thinking you could go and see like um, a hedge witch, which is like a cunning man. It's kind of like a folk medicine kind of person.